Yeah. Hey. 3-point firefighter, always ready for more. Saving citizens and leaving egos at the door. Another day up in the life, showing you what it takes. Got the hunger, pride, drive, spirit that never breaks. Yeah. Always there when danger is threatening. When seconds count, guess what? We're counting the seconds. 3-point firefighter. 3-point firefighter. Hey, IGAF.
Welcome back to 3-Point Firefighter. Today, my guest is Andy Bozzo and Will Pigeon. Now, Andy has been in the fire service for over 25 years, and he's currently a battalion chief at Contra Costa County Fire Department District. That's a lot. It's a mouthful, by the way. Will is also, I screwed that up. Give me a second. I'm an idiot. It is Bozzo, right?
Yep, that's fine. Or Bozzo, but
what do you prefer? My name's Jakey. Everybody calls me Jackie, and I can't stand it. So I got a thing about names. I want to get it right.
So if you say like the two Z's are like pizza. So if you say Bozzo, it's
okay. It's Bozzo.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, Bozzo. Gotcha. All right. Try again. Welcome back to 3-Point Firefighter. This is take 2 because I screwed up the first one. Today's guest is Andy Bozzo and Will Pigeon. Now, Andy has been in the fire service for over 25 years, and he is currently a battalion chief at Contra Costa County Fire Department. You know what? I'm going to keep rolling with this one. He's a battalion chief at Contra Costa County Fire Protection District. Now, Will has also worked at Contra Costa Fire Protection District as a firefighter, and he moved up through the ranks as an assistant fire chief, where he left in 2020, I believe, after 15 years. Now, both of them are co-founders of Tablet Command, and I know you've heard of Tablet Command. Now, Tablet Command is mobile CAD, emergency incident response, and management software. It's actually pretty badass, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But brothers, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Sorry for the horrible introduction, but
That's
I'm retired. I do day drinking now. I'm just kidding.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
So, Contra Costa County Fire Protection District, I looked it up. I had a pretty good idea because there's a sound to it. So it is in between San Francisco and Sacramento in California.
Correct.
That
is
fair?
correct.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Let's start off with what's in the news. The wildfires that are going on in California.
Yep.
Has your department at all sent anybody that had to deal with these, or how's that working?
Yeah. So the way, that's a great question. The way that the master mutual aid system works in the state of California is if a region is under duress, they start sending out a needs request to the state. And then the state's going to sort through, our state's broken up into different regions for fire response. And the state's just going to query those different regions for resource availability. Now, January, there's pluses and minuses to it. We weren't really expecting a conflagration of this nature in January because the temperatures are low, but the relative humidities were low and the winds were extremely high. The advantage of January is a lot of people are not on vacation. They're not on summer vacation. They're not, vacationing with their families and whatnot. So there was a pretty robust response. There was also an early read on these winds. So there was a pre-positioned response as well. There was upstaffing, but essentially the Los Angeles region called to Sacramento for help. Sacramento asked us if we could fill these resource needs. And along with other counties and cities all over the state, they started sending rigs down south for that. I've been on fires before in Northern California where I bumped into LA City firefighters in the woods, like miles back in the woods. So there's even if you're a type 1 assigned firefighter, there's no real discrimination between what sort of job you're going to do. They will call for specific apparatus type for what they think they're going to face, but sometimes those can get repurposed. So I've showed up for structure protection on certain fires, and then days into it after the structure protection is over, I've been told to pack a lunch and hike 2 miles that way, and you might find a crew from the Forest Service somewhere inside a different national forest. So it's pretty versatile. I'm very proud of the mutual aid system that we have in the state of California. And in listening to some of the fire chiefs from Southern California, it sounds like there's a lot of talk for that mutual aid system to extend out beyond the borders of California and be more of a national mutual aid system.
So it's pretty normal for you all to deal with this stuff. It's just the size of this particular fire was just out of control.
Well, the size of this particular fire was unprecedented. I mean, you have 100-mile-an-hour gusts in sustained winds of 70 miles an hour. That's like literally fighting a hurricane of fire.
That's a cool saying, by the way.
It sounds like an AI production, or some sort of CGI movie, the fire hurricane, but literally you can. Now I've been in some wind driven fires on strike teams is what we call them. And, so we sent a couple strike teams to Southern California from Contra Costa Fire. You think you have it. And the next thing you know, you've got an ember that's spotted a half a mile behind you. Now you've got fire behind you, and you've got another neighborhood going up, and the resource needs get drawn down really quickly. And you always have to do this balance of, am I in a life priority or am I in a property conservation priority? And it's constantly fluid what that priority is.
Will, how many of those did you have to go to when you were there?
I wasn't too big on going out on strike teams. I did a number of them adjacent county and inside the county, but going out on strike teams is on a volunteer basis, meaning you're paid, but you're volunteering essentially your time because you're committing, a week or 2 weeks or sometimes even longer on these incidents. So I typically didn't do that with 3 young kids in the house.
Yeah, I guess
it's hard.
That would be tough. So it took me a while in my career to really learn this. So I started making more and more friends out west, and I started going out west to teach. Anybody that's listened to my podcast has heard me brag on Washington State and Oregon, their fire culture out there. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
I've been to LA County before, twice, I believe, teaching. And it's pretty much the same thing from my perspective. But one of the things that I thought of is I used to think that there was wildland firefighters and structural firefighters, and never the twain shall meet. That's how naive I was, because we don't deal with that kind of stuff. We deal with structure fires. That's about it.
Yeah.
What we call a wildfire, after I'd made friends and started really paying attention, I'm like, that's not a wildfire. But you all actually do both. You do. I've learned you do structural firefighting. You do wildland firefighting. Some of my friends that are in LA County, Glendale Fire Department stuff have been teaching me this. It seems like that is really a very so different dichotomy. Wildland firefighting versus structural firefighting.
Mm-hmm.
Having all the water in the world. Maybe you just have a shovel or an axe to put out a fire. So you all are brought up in this system, I assume. So how do you see it? Is just everyday normal stuff? You can't believe that we over in the east side, we all get away with not having to worry about it. How does that work? What's your perspective on it from there?
Well, for me, I love it. I was turned on to the fire service at 5 years old because I lived in Northern California, and about a 2,200 to 5,000 acre fire broke out behind my house. And I saw all the planes and helicopters and folks marching in. And to me, they call it the moral equivalent of war. And that's really, to me, what it was. And I wanted to be a part of something like that. So when I initially aspired to be a firefighter, I aspired to be just a wildland firefighter. But what's great about California, and literally this can be true in LA County, Ventura County, Contra Costa County, you can be 5, 6, 7 floors up in an apartment fire, put that fire out, overhaul the whole thing, go downstairs to the lobby, strip your gear, smoking and joking, go to rehab, have a Gatorade, have some almonds, boom, wildland fire, put your wildland gear on. You're going, 3 miles that way, or go to an adjacent county like Will has talked about. And it adds another layer of versatility, but I don't really see it any different. I don't see us too different in terms of regions of the country because, where we're dealing with wildland fires, it's just a large scale incident. You all could be dealing with a hazardous materials. I know in your neck of the woods, they had a very large hazardous materials release. It's just resources and people. And that coordination and having a good platform to coordinate that. Now we get reps on it every day in the summertime. So that's kind of the big advantage I'd say that we have, for our consolation prize for 115 degree temperatures is we get mutual aid reps all the time. So we get a lot of practice in the ICS system, but I don't see us as very different. You know, you can have hurricanes, tornado outbreaks, other large scale disasters in other parts of the country where that mutual
What about
aid can
firequakes? Since we're in
fire hurricanes and firequakes,
firequakes.
earthquake weather.
So I could see that being way more physical, though. That's the only thing when I look at.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like structural firefighting. We all know it can be physically demanding.
Yes.
But you're pulling hose, and I'm not trying to downplay what we do, but it's a contained, 5,000 square feet average, maybe less, and you guys are like out in the wild, like the forest, and you're carrying all this stuff. And
Yeah.
I just always thought of it as such a physical, demanding job. I probably wouldn't want to do it because I've got very soft hands. I would be better off probably at the canteen. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Just saying.
Canteen's nice too. No, I mean, you can put in a 2 mile long hose lay, literally. Yeah. And that's arduous. It is very arduous. And you're hiking down and up dozer line, which is not the most packed in dirt. It's not like a maintained trail. There's ticks, there's rattlesnakes. It's hot. There's smoke. There's a lot going on, but it is arduous, but boy, is it still an exciting job.
I'd say so. Now, Will, there's something I've never really understood. Maybe you can help me with this. There's California fire departments and there's Cal Fire. What's the difference there?
Yeah, great question. So to think of something analogous to law enforcement, for example, you have like the state police, and then you have local police agencies or county sheriff and those type. The same is true for the fire service. So in California, we have Cal Fire, which is essentially the state fire department. So any jurisdiction that's not incorporated or does not have a city or potentially falls to non-county or just state area, Cal Fire would have the jurisdiction. And then Cal Fire has a number of contract cities and contract counties as well, where they provide fire protection. So Cal Fire is broken up almost into, they say, 21 different fire departments, if you will. They're called units, or they're little, essentially regions that span multiple counties, all kind of reporting up through the state. So that's how it works. And we California fire agencies, local government, cities and counties interact with Cal Fire on a daily basis, and especially when we have these large mutual aid conflagrations like we have in LA City.
Okay. So let's go back to the days when you both joined Contra Costa Fire Protection. I forgot the county, didn't I? Contra Costa County.
Just Con Fire.
We just call it Con Fire.
Oh, God, you could have told me that early in all of this. Oh, Con Fire. Okay, so you guys are starting there. You're meeting there. Did you all know each other before you started working together?
No.
Okay. All right. So you get together. At some point, one of you said, you know what would be good if we, obviously you saw a problem in the fire service. You're like, this isn't working out. And you both are probably probably out in the bay by a table where everybody complains. And one of you said, you know what we ought to do? We ought to look at making our own software. We'll call it Jake Barnes Tablet. And then the other guy says, never heard of the guy. What about Tablet Command?
Yeah.
Is that about how it went?
Yeah, I might have suggested the Jake Barnes part, but
if you were smart, you did. Yes.
So we had a line of duty death in 2007, and Will had been, I think Will made entry into the department in 2005, and I worked for the Tacoma Fire Department during that time. I'm very familiar with that Washington fire culture. I was up there for 7.5 years as a firefighter, more in the municipal setting than anything else. But Will came in 2005, so he was already out in the companies, and I was just a recruit. I had 2 years of Cal Fire and about 8 years of municipal firefighting under my belt, but we don't transfer in the fire department, right? If you want to move, you have to start over as a probie. So
I'm seeing different though. I hate to interrupt you, but it's funny you say that. No. We'll put a pin in it. We'll come back to it later, but I do want to put a pin in and maybe remind me later that I do want to talk about, yes, when I started in the fire service too, nobody laterally transferred. You had to restart. I know I had to 3 times, but now they're starting to do that. We'll come back to that one, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is starting to happen. So anyway, we had line of duty deaths in 2007 in July, and the ensuing NIOSH reports and whatnot came out, and right around 2008, 2009, I was working in the station where those firefighters had died. And that's an eerie feeling in itself, to be sitting in that jump seat, rolling to fires, knowing that guys died here. And very nondescript house, a fire I'd been to 10 times, room and contents, victims trapped. They go in, they try to make the grab. They successfully make one grab. They go back in for the second victim, essentially a flashover, thermal insult to both firefighters, and they died right there. So, I was asked, because I worked in the Northwest, I was asked to do a presentation on our personnel accountability system. And I think you're very familiar with the Velcro tag method, where you have E10 and you have 3 or 4 names down the Velcro tag, and you transfer those into fire tack or whatever you're going to be doing.
Yes.
So I was asked.
By the way, another interruption. This was my
bring that in. There you go.
This was my accountability when I first got started where I was at.
Absolutely.
So, yes, I had both. I've had both. I've had the little Velcro and everything. It's not. It's a great system, but the failure comes with the people. It's the human interaction, the human element of it is where personal accountability falls apart, in my opinion.
Absolutely, provided that you use it. And I know some very good departments in the Midwest that use that Velcro system in a very disciplined manner. We used it in Washington State in a very disciplined manner as well. And so I gave a presentation to a battalion chief on this, or I was asked to give a presentation, and I was looking over that curriculum, and I started playing Words with Friends. I went home after the shift, I was laying on my couch, and I was playing Words with Friends. And as I was dragging a tile onto the Scrabble board in Words with Friends, and for your listeners that don't know what that is, it's just an iPhone game where you get like 5 tiles across a tray at the bottom and then a Scrabble board up top, and you start dragging letters to spell words. So I thought to myself, wow, I'm playing with somebody I don't even know, and they're God knows where, but I'm making a word, and they know I made that word. Why can't Division 5 know that I just sent them 5 engines or 5 companies to their location, or 4 or 3 or whatever it is? And it was the epiphany moment. There's a way for us to construct software that does not interrupt aggressive interior operations, but makes us more situationally aware. Now, I started making some drawings, literally with colored pencils and crayons and straight, rulers.
So you're on a truck company then, because you had those readily available, right?
Totally. And I knew Will from working in a previous project, because I came on in 2007 in Confire. And he and I had worked on a project in like 2008, 2009. I reached out to Will. I go, Will, I don't know anything about software, but I know that these are eventually turning into tablets. And I know that's coming. How do I get these kindergarten drawings onto a tablet? And he seemed invested in the idea, and I'll leave it to Will to tell the rest of the story.
Yeah, it was after the iPad was released. I know that because I was thinking about, there's so many great things we could do with this iPad and the fire service, with, having a truly mobile solution that's just tap and drag. And I was thinking about more of an incident like EMS report, like capturing that information, replacing the clipboard. So Andy called me. I remember the call, and I remember thinking when we first met, okay, if we're going to do this, let's do this the right way. I started off in computer science in college, and then ended up in information systems. So it's like, how does information and computers work in business? And one little anecdote I have is somebody early on in the last fire department I worked for, they said, oh, that's never going to have a correlation, information systems and the fire service. And he was
now it's everything.
Definitively wrong.
Yeah.
Cell phones are not going to be around much longer, dude.
Right.
These flip phones are it.
Yeah.
200 years of tradition.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Unimpeded by progress.
So so when we raised a little bit of money, we went out and hired a UI UX person that basically took the drawings that Andy and I worked together, literally on cocktail napkins, drawing out this feature set of what it would look like, and hired somebody that's professional experience in the industry of actually working with tablets and iPhones and how applications work. And then from there we went out and found a developer, developed the application. We started as just a standalone application just on the iPad where you could download it for $39.99 as an incident command tool and
that.
put all the data in yourself, drag your units, put your address in and everything like that. What we got when we first launched it back in 2013 is we got feedback from one of the IAFC innovation conferences, if I'm not mistaken, Andy, where we filled this room. We had this conference room that fit like 50 people, and there were people standing in the hallways because we were a brand new product. Everyone was interested in it. And the feedback was integrate it with the computer-aided dispatch system. So as units are assigned by CAD or by the dispatch center, they just pop in there. Just to give you an example, that's one little sliver of the advantage of tablet command, not to mention everything else. But if you ever look at and actually time how long it takes an incident commander on the radio to get an inventory of their first alarm or second or third alarm from their dispatch center, it's about 60 seconds per alarm level, where you're focused on that. You're concentrating, you're writing those down. You're subject to handwriting, transposition errors. You might make a mistake or pause or be distracted by something else. With tablet command, the units just pop in there. So it's just quickly just drag and drop to give them an assignment.
You can listen to TAC channel traffic of folks that actually have relevant conditions, actions, needs, rather than listening to your laundry list of resources that are coming to this 2-alarm or 3-alarm apartment fire or whatever it is. So.
Especially, I've always said the first 5 minutes is the make or break for any scene, right?
100%.
So you got to have your command staff be able to do their job. You can't have something interfering with it. So I'll tell you, there's been so many things that have come down the pike that I don't wholeheartedly agree with. For example, these great big suitcases that turn into pretty much your boards, right? At a fire scene. They're fantastic theoretically, but what do they take? Well, they take time to set up. They take time to maintain. Normally they take an extra person to just run that while the battalion chief or the major or whatever is running the scene. Again, I think it's a fantastic idea, but it is not intuitive. It does take up more resources. And that's what I like about what you're dealing with. You're kind of letting the battalion chief or whatever do his job and not have to interfere with the time that he does it or resources. Would that be a fair amount or a fair thing to say?
That's absolutely correct. For myself, when I'm serving in the role as an incident commander on a fire, I can literally pull up to that fire, back up, windshield survey, and based on radio traffic that I got en route, drop down an immediate tactical worksheet and drop and drag my first 3 units. That's generally about when I roll in. Sometimes I'll be second due, but usually I'm the 3rd, 4th, 5th due resource, depending on where I'm posted that day. And I can just immediately account for who, what, and where of all of those companies that are active on that incident. And that is huge. And, I lost the footage, and I'm going to find it someday. I filmed a highly respected battalion chief from this organization from a while back when Will and I were still in its conception phase. And I think it might've been in that 39.95 phase. And I filmed him, and he showed me his whole process of getting out of the rig, walking to the back of the buggy, opening the door, grabbing his Halligan, shoving it underneath his rig, pulling out his command board, going through a file cabinet, pulling out a tactical worksheet, going through another file cabinet, pulling out a tactical checklist with benchmarks. That was a lot. He's invested in that process, and good on him for following checklists and protocols and procedures. Highly disciplined. But if you could condense that into a 15-second process to where you can simultaneously take in all that dynamic information that's happening right in front of your face, on, whether you're in the front yard or however you do your command. We're not saying, how to set up a command post, but however you do that, whether it's windshield or front yard or back of the buggy, that moment gets condensed and it does not interrupt. In fact, it enhances the speed of operations, which, like you said, is make or break within those first 5 minutes. Water on the fire is a very good thing.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Jake, and also the thing you mentioned regarding those command boards, the things that are trailed around or require a person to set up, there's no muscle memory there, right? I mean, we constantly ingrain in ourselves that we do things over and over, whether it be forcible entry, interior hose tack, medical. We want to do it over and over, so we build that muscle memory. The same is true for tablet command. So it's utilized typically on every single incident. They're using it as a response tool, and then the battalion chief's only clicking manage. So there's still that muscle memory where you're taking essentially all that information, whether it be customized maps, checklist, looking at it on every single response, and then just to manage the incident, it's just one button push. And we're kind of taking, those command boards, even a template, a worksheet. What we're doing is basically providing a quick, easy tool to basically, you have that template, it's all standardized. So whether or not it be your department within your region, or potentially even another tablet command customer from outside your region, they're looking at that same and understand that same command board that everyone's using. So they're not trying to figure that out. In the first 5 minutes of a response, I would always be trying to figure out and capture all this information of what units I'm going with, what are the call details, and we're bringing all that to you, including customized maps. You can look at the layout, you can look at the checklists for that type of incident that you're going on. So it kind of provides those memory joggers, and you don't have to figure everything out on the fly.
That's awesome. I need to put this out there. I want people to understand this. When it comes to tablet command, you guys are not my sponsor, right? Yeah. I have not asked to be have you sponsors. I have not asked for anything in return. This isn't what some people might think is like, oh, he's doing it correct. That's not what we're doing here. These two brothers have come up with a product that is going to basically save time and lives. That's why we're talking about this. It's very important. So many of us in the fire service want to talk about, I'll do anything for my community. I'll do anything for my fire department, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes it falls short because, some things are hard. And when it comes to tablet command, it's not hard. It's easy. It's intuitive. It's something that even somebody that is not you don't have to be computer savvy to run this, right? It's so easy. If you look at the layout, like you started with the drawings and stuff, it's made by firefighters and for firefighters, which is why I like it so much. That's the thing for me. I don't care for anything that's not made by firefighters. There's a lot of stuff out there. I'm pretty sure it was somebody that wasn't in the fire service that came up with the 3-piece Halligan. It had to be. I think it was my first wife. That's all I'm saying. I don't know. Right now,
you're deserving some payments there. Then
no, I'm fine not talking with her anymore. That's fine. But with that, this has been great for part one. Now, next Monday, we're going to have part two. They're going to be back, and we'll talk a little bit more about this because I want people to know about it, and I want to know how situational awareness plays into this. So I appreciate you both being on. Thank you very much for letting me mess up the name of your fire department repeatedly. I will not cut that out, only because I need people to know that, yes, I am an idiot sometimes. Brothers, thank you for being on.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Jake.
All right, we're back. And thank you for wearing the exact same clothes as you did last week. That's very important. Continuity is important. We were talking about tablet command earlier, and I love the fact that the potential it has for saving brothers and sisters. I love the potential it has even more so of finding victims quicker, because they're not carrying around a 50-pound briefcase. It's literally, like it says in the name, tablet. So when it comes to tablet command, and you guys are starting to work on it, what did it start out and what did it evolve into? Because there's no way it stayed the same, right? All these years, surely you saw more ways, and technology has caught up where you could do even more stuff with it. So can you tell me about that? What is it? Let me ask you, Will, what's it evolved into?
Yeah, it started, Jake, to answer your question, it started as a standalone application. So imagine just a iPad application you download from the App Store where you're just putting the resources in, you're just dragging and dropping those. And we quickly got, like I mentioned in the last episode, we quickly got feedback that we needed to integrate with CAD. We didn't stop there. We have customized maps, checklists that can be shared amongst the department. So an operations chief can basically change their templates or checklists, and it'll be standardized across for the very next incident when they make those changes. We've got vehicle location data from multiple sources. We integrate with different things like your drone video feed, if you have that available on a URL. So you can see that while you're responding to the incident, as opposed to bringing a video from the drone team to the command post. You can actually just see that while you're responding. We partner with companies that have other integration sources in terms of data. So everything you can think about that's on a map that could be live, whether it be Department of Transportation cameras that you could look at, evacuation zones, whatever it may be.
Wow.
And we do one of the things that we launched in 2016 was to be able to status into the CAD. So, basically doing away with your MDT solution altogether. We just had feedback from the customer saying, can you put this status button in your application and be able to talk to CAD? So we did that. And then we also launched a feature called real-time sync, where you're basically, as you're managing the incident, any changes you make are truly updated in real time as fast as the bits can travel through the air. And then
let me ask you something. So it's not like email where like most emails will update every minute or 2 minutes, wasting time. It's instant. So as soon as you put it in,
has to be.
Okay.
It's mission critical. It has to be.
Nice.
Yeah. In terms of the incident data coming from CAD, there is just a couple second delay with that because we interface with CAD, so it takes a couple steps to get there. But in terms of managing an incident, once you start managing an incident, you're dragging units out to give them an assignment to fire attack or different parts of the map. It's truly real time, as fast as it updates instantaneously, and it's critical to recognize that you get that information, because you could have a captain that's coming, approaching the intersection and might see, make a tactical decision based off something that's happened on the command board, for example. And then some of the cooler features that we launched just recently in 2018, we launched shared AVL. So, when you're working inside your communication center, you can see the vehicle locations in your MDT of your resources. Or maybe those resources from neighboring agencies, but they're always in your communication center. In 2018, we launched a feature where all Tableau Command customers can share their vehicle locations with each other across communication centers. So you could show up on like an LA City wildfire, for example. You could be a Tableau Command customer from the state of Oregon driving into Southern California, and you see all the resources that are, all their locations, which really kind of changes the game when you're on those large mutual aid incidents. And then something we just recently launched is called incident sharing. So we can take an incident from your communication center, of course, permission to share, but you can share it with another Tableau Command customer. So you're giving situational awareness to those units, those automatic or mutual aid units that are responding to you, live updates on comments, address, call type, changing at the exact same time it's changing for that host agency. So those are just some of the features, and I'll let Andy maybe key into some other things that I missed.
No, I mean, it really did take flight from, we initially, envisioned it as an incident command platform that was going to just render situational awareness across an agency. But, as Will sort of took it and ran with it from, the technological capabilities and the versatility that comes from that, it has just blossomed into this sort of all-in-one platform under one pane of glass, which has been, a giant game changer for a lot of our customers. They've been able, as Will said, been able to do away with, maybe devices that are a lot more expensive with a lot less functionality in exchange for something that has 10x functionality and is less expensive, and gives them that versatility of CAD status. And I'll say, he mentioned shared AVL, automatic vehicle location. I was on the Calder fire. That was the last fire that made national news. It happened in conjunction with the Dixie fire. We had two huge fires that happened in 2021. They all blend together after a while. And I was on that one. And during morning briefing, I would have division supervisors pulling me aside left and right saying, the AVL is money, dude. I can see all my units in my division right now. And that's important when you have something like a hazardous materials incident that spans over a large geographic area, or a hurricane that spans over a large geographic area, or a tornado outbreak, or a wildfire, or a tornado quake. Tornado quake. That's right. Or tornado, or a or fire quake. Whatever. We come a Sharknado. An outbreak of Sharknadoes. When you have units on one incident splayed over a large geographic area, that AVL is so huge for situational awareness in terms of who's operating around you and also who can help you. You may need a couple engine companies. And so you might see them on the map and say, or be able to redirect them to a different neighborhood or a different portion of the incident. So that, for me, the other thing is, as I was hearing Will talk, I was like, wow, that's a lot of features. But what's great about it is it's so digestible for, as you kind of referred to earlier, Jake, the dummy firefighter that sort of gets that, that has that need to be able to digest small bits of information in small amounts of time when they need it. Right. So that's been a huge boon for us.
So you mentioned several times now situational awareness, and I've always been sort of drawn to situational awareness. And the reason is, to be honest, when I was younger, I had tunnel vision so bad at every fire because I was so excited to be at a fire. But the truth of it is, lack of situational awareness gets people hurt and unfortunately killed. I too have been part of a line of duty death, 646 up there, Chuck Williams. It's horrible. But if you gave an honest look at what happened, an objective look at the scene, you're going to find a breakdown of some type of situational awareness. So tell me, why was it the line of duty death you went through? You're saying that's where you're like, all right, I've had enough. There's no reason for this to happen. We need better situational awareness, and that transferred into tablet command, or does it after you started working a tablet command, wow, this is really going to increase situational awareness. How did that fit in at first?
I think both of us got kicked in the guts with the line of duty death, because that was, Will and I are seeing ourselves in that scenario, or seeing our families. Plus we were both at the memorial. And I just think it really caused us to have, for lack of a better term, an operational pause, and maybe ask, what the hell are we doing? Can we put these fires out and still keep track of our people? So I'd say that, I know Will and I, prior to even conceiving of tablet command, we're just having conversations about the line of duty death, and then fires that happened. We're fortunate. I know Contra Costa County, blah, 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 blah. Like, we get about a fire a day, sometimes a couple fires a day. Not like in the summertime, we always get a fire a day because we have vegetation fires, but we get a residential or some sort of building fire almost every day. And that's, results in a high amount of reps, and it also results in a high amount of risk. And so we're always kind of talking about those calls, but I would say that the line of duty that sort of informed everything that we were doing. And Will, I'll hand the ball off to you. I'd get your take on that, but that's kind of how it felt in the early days.
Yeah, Jake, to answer your question, from my perspective, it started as an incident command tool. It was a standalone application, but then quickly we recognized, when we start integrating with CAD, we can do things like advanced notifications. So we'll send out notifications sometimes 30 to 60 seconds faster than the traditional station alerting. And the reason we do that is as soon as there's a structure fire call type with an address, and it's been geo-verified by the CAD, hasn't even been assigned by a dispatcher yet. So no stations have been assigned yet. We're sending out notifications to everyone in the department, so they're aware of that structure fire 30 to 60 seconds faster. And Andy could tell you, we could talk for hours about how many times he sees inside the stations where guys are literally pulling their bunkers on and the station tones are going off because they're already readying themselves. Yeah. And it's important, I think, obviously, for response time, reaction time, and your shoot times and everything like that. From a metric standpoint, every look at the statistics in terms of how quick you should get to a cardiac arrest, or how quick you can get to a fire to really make a difference. But when we're talking about situational awareness, I think it's important for crews that may not even be assigned to that incident to have knowledge about that incident, just to know what they're going on. For example, Matt and Scott, who we lost in 2007, July 21st, 2007. They were going by themselves in the middle of the night to a ringing alarm, and then it got upgraded to a structure fire. So, if you could, maybe if somebody else had knowledge or notification about that beforehand, maybe that would have helped them. And one thing in terms of situational awareness, one of our customers in California, large metro, Sacramento region, they took our solution, and they basically, what they do is the 1st and 2nd battalion chief are dispatched on residential and commercial structure fires on their first alarm. The 3rd or the 4th BC, which would be second in, basically grab tablet command. They start managing the incident from the radio traffic over the radio from their station or from their desk. And then as soon as the first BCs get there, they transfer command to them. So what that does is a number of things, right? the battalion chiefs are now listening. The second due battalion chiefs now know everything from a situational awareness and accountability standpoint, what's going on in that fire. So if it escalates or they know it's going to escalate, they're already out the door and they know what's going on. So it's not playing catch up. I mean, how many times were you dispatched on a multi-alarm incident at like 3:30 in the morning and you're just trying to figure out like how to hit responding? I mean, it's, and you're trying to piece this whole thing together while you're going to the incident. You get all that history, with tablet command from a situational awareness standpoint. So,
and see, that's one of the things that I think is the most important is seconds. It gives the victim seconds. One of the things I tried to preach as when I was a training officer where I was at was, the time when a victim dies in a fire, there's 10 seconds before everybody dies. There's always 10 seconds before people die. It's just fact. What if we could give them that 10 seconds? What if we could move faster, get the information faster? If we can give them 10 seconds, then I'm pretty sure we work hard enough. We can give them 15 and 20 and 30 and on and on and on. It's going to save people's lives. But I still saw people just when something would come in on dispatch, they would just walk to the rig, slowly put on their gear, take off their sweatshirt. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. I'm like, you make up time in the firehouse, and what you guys have gives them that not just 10 seconds, you're giving them 30, like you said, 30 to 60 seconds. And you're putting that on the victim's clock. And I don't know that you could really find out your ROI for your, for tablet command for something like that. It's unfortunate, but the thing is you're saving lives. I mean, that's all there is to it. And firefighters too, hopefully they're benefiting by being able to retire and be grumpy old firefighters as well. I think a lot of value in that.
You're putting time on the building too. I mean, that's less burn time in the attic. That's less exposure to, gusseted truss systems. That's less opportunity for a roof collapse. That's less opportunity for a flashover because you're getting water on the fire faster. You're getting that person an airway faster. Whatever it is, you're getting them disentangled faster. And I think it goes back. I mean, we're giving them that opportunity. It goes back to the culture of the department too. It's like, if you're competitive and you really want to be out there doing what's the right thing for the citizens, you want to be quick. And so we're giving them that opportunity to be quicker. And that was, something that was a very happy, I'm not sure if the consequence was I'm sure Will knew that this was going to happen that way. I didn't know that we were going to give them that 30-second jump, that 60-second jump that, we've seen when we'll go visit fire stations around the country. We've seen it for our own eyes. We'll be talking to someone in an apparatus bay and boom, here comes the truck and the engine. They're all running in the apparatus bay, no tones. They're putting their stuff on. Tones go off as the, diesel cloud is going up and they're leaving the apparatus bay. So that warms our heart to see that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So let me ask you something real quick. This must have, I'm assuming, cellular connection because you're not gonna have Wi-Fi everywhere you go. How have anything electronic has that can't connect problem sometimes. So how big an issue if I want to buy a tablet command, right? And I call you guys up. I'm like, all right, guys, listen, I'm not a big fan of electronics. I don't use it hardly at all. I still got a flip phone, whatever. But electronics break. Connections my radio doesn't even work in the basement of our own hospital. How come your all's has this magic connection? How's that work?
Yeah, so our application does require for updates like, units being assigned or CAD comments or anything, or if you're managing an incident to have connectivity to, whether it be cellular or Wi-Fi on your engine with a hotspot, whatever it may be. But we started as a standalone application with no connectivity for managing an incident. And so we still continue to have that ability as a core function of our application is if connectivity is marginal in and out, or you have no connectivity and you're managing an incident into a cave, you can still be able to drag and drop those resources. They won't be assigned from CAD if you've lost connectivity, but we have a feature basically where you can quickly add resources that are coming to your incident. And we get that question a lot, and there's a lot of fear from that. I think in terms of connectivity and relying upon technology, I think that connectivity is really, it's a kind of changing the way that the industry is working, whether it be vehicle location data, updates on incidents. I mean, Motorola radios now are sending data and traffic out with their new radios over cellular, as internet traffic. And then with the innovation of like Starlink and direct to sat, I think that connectivity is going to become less and less of an issue. But if you have some poor area, our application immediately tells you when it lost connectivity, and you can still use the application to manage incidents. And we also show you the latest snapshot of all the data that you would have. We expect you to lose connectivity at any second. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that's great, because I'd rather hear somebody say that, we expect you to lose your connection any second, and know that you have a plan B, because that's what firefighters we're known for, right? We're known for a plan B, C, D, and E. Again, made by firefighters for firefighters. I love it. So what has been the biggest obstacle? So for me, I could see just getting started being a gigantic pain in the ass, and trying to come on, we're all grumpy. We hate change. We hate change. So what has been the biggest obstacle from the napkin drawing to getting Will involved to now you've got a highly valuable resource for any department pretty much in the world? What's been that biggest challenge? What's one you're like, you know what, screw this, I'm not going to do it. I can't do it. How do we fix this?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a cultural standpoint, it's one thing that's worked really well for us is the two founders of the company, myself and Will, have been on the job for a long time. Between the two of us, we have over 50 years of fire service experience.
And you both look like you're 35 years old. I'll leave that one alone, but you both look young as shit to be an assistant chief and a battalion chief.
Yeah, I'm 53 years old. So, we've been around a while, and we've both been humbled in fires. And I think we can put that vibe out there when we walk through the doors of a fire station and say, try this out. What are your thoughts about this versus this is the best thing, you need this. We never take that approach because we just have such a reverence for the fire service. So that's been our in, and I'll defer to Will in terms of probably the biggest obstacle in my estimation has been the technological piece and the integration and the hardware, and some of the associated politics. And I'll let Will expound on that one.
Yeah, I think the biggest obstacle from the beginning, and I think this is true today as well, is just introducing a new product, a new process into the fire service. I mean, you're taking essentially, a command board, whether it be a legal pad that you're scratching on the back of, pad of paper to track your resources, or an incident template that you might be using. The attitude is this works completely fine. We've been doing it fine this way forever, right? It's the 200 years of tradition and pride, really, for the fire service. I mean, we've done an amazing job in the fire service, but to introduce a brand new technology, a digital command board, you get that kind of pushback. But then quickly, what we see is once somebody, even the biggest naysayer in a department, the one that totally doesn't believe anything that you're saying, becomes the biggest believer. And we've seen this case in time and time again where they realize, oh my gosh, this is a tool just like a checklist that a pilot might use, to quickly reference. So you don't have to figure everything out on the fly. It allows you really to focus on the incident and have a good accountability or incident command or checklist, whatever you're using in tab of command, to really kind of focus on the incident. It allows you to do better. I mean, when I was a aspiring captain and chief officer, just trying to manage that stuff and keep track of everything is a huge burden, right? And then also trying to piece together everything that's going on in the incident, from where your hydrant's located, where the structure's located, street access, what units are assigned, where are they coming from. You're trying to piece all this stuff together, and Tablet Command really solves a lot of that. So you're really able to focus really just on the safest, best approach to fighting that fire.
So Tablet Command, when I first started delving into this, I thought, oh, this is a great fireground tool. And then the more I looked into it, I was like, no, wait a minute, this is before the fire. Wait, this is at the firehouse. Wait, you can use this before any fire even hits. Yep. So there's a lot of value. Now, I've seen Oh my God, have I seen so many software and hardware? You don't see a lot of hardware anymore, but we have in the fire service had all these things. And so, like where I used to work, we had an app for this, we had an app for that. We didn't have anything combined, right? But it seems like Tablet Command has a ton of stuff combined in it, so they don't have to spend a ton of money on having. Well, we have this for dispatch, we have this for scheduling, we have this for all of our records, we have this for the CAD, all this stuff. It's kind of, you have like an all-in-one. What do you have down the future? What are you looking at now that you're going to be adding to it?
Yeah, good question. Well, one of the you mentioned all those different solutions, and the staffing solution, CAD, incident reporting solutions, like there's so many different things to choose from, and departments choose those solutions based for different reasons. They might like the UI, it might be a cost thing.
What we do a lot.
Yeah,
definitely. We integrate with all of those. So we bring it into, kind of one pane of glass. And that's been one of the successes of our platform. Just to give you an example, you can have one communication center, a regional communication center, typically what we're experiencing, right? And you'll have 10 different departments, and they all have 10 different staffing solutions. And to bring all those staffing solutions into CAD and have everyone have like what's going actually on what unit, which some CAD support, it's a monumental project, and it's a huge cost to have the CAD vendor basically integrate with all the solutions. We bring all those staffing solutions into our product, and we basically show you who's on what rig at the time that unit's assigned to the incident. And I kind of lost my train of thought here. Andy,
I think
else?
you're about to say that 3 Point Firefighter is the best podcast you've ever heard. I believe that's
100%.
That's true.
There you go.
I mean, we introduced recently a high-rise feature with the staffing integration that Will talked about.
Oh,
because again, going back to high-rise and staffing, there's a little bit of a correlation there. We don't always keep crews together. If you have a 4 or 5 person truck, we split the trucks, and so whether you're just on a commercial structure fire or you're on a residential structure fire, more so in the residential structure fire setting than anything else, you start splitting those trucks up with folks going in for rescue and a couple folks going topside for ventilation. Having that versatility and ability to take Jones and Smith and send them to the roof, and send the other 3 in for rescue, or the other 2 in for rescue behind a hose team or in front of the hose line, or however you're going to do it. Having those practical features that the elegant stroke here is that something that's very technologically difficult and involved to do in the back end looks very simple for us as end users. And it's because of the by firefighters for firefighters. We understand that at the end user, it has to be simple and obvious and right in front of your face in 2 or 3 seconds, or it becomes a wheel chalk. Period. End of story.
Yeah.
And so that's been the biggest task for Will and the development group, the software developers, is how do we take what these basically blue collar people are saying they want the interface to look like, and making it so that there's not 5 steps to get there. There's not even 3 steps to get there. It's
right.
A 1-touch, a 2-touch thing, and you've achieved your objective. And so that's been probably one of the biggest achievements and accomplishments on the back end, to make us users who are breaking down doors on the front end be able to use this very quickly and easily, and transition from that task level captain to that battalion chief or that incident commander when you find yourself in that role. So, and that goes all back to training. And Jake, as a training officer, I'm sure you can appreciate that. I know I appreciate it from a training perspective.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah.
Will, it looks like you're about to say something besides me being a hell of a podcaster.
I pulled up my notes in terms of just looking at features that we can share. So we're looking at just constantly improving the application. We're constantly doing that. So one of the things that we're working towards, which is a long project, is being able to break out the incident to support like branches or different levels of the organization, have the ability to have a group or a division be able to manage their resources. That's a long-term project that we're working on. We also have a Windows version that's available in the browser that's going to be coming out for beta very, very soon, so that, if you don't have an iPad, you can still be able to at least view the incident on a Windows tablet with a Windows web browser. And then looking at putting like aircraft location in the application. That's a huge request on the West Coast. Yep. Yeah, and just little feature tweaks here and there. One of the things that we just added about six to 8 months ago was the ability to. I don't know if you guys do where you're from, Jake. Where you're doing like a roll call reports on safety messages, in terms of like wires down or there's a and you have to stage on certain incidents. Yeah. We have the ability that any CAD that we integrate with can basically, the dispatcher can leave a comment and it creates an acknowledgement message per unit and then submits that back as a comment. So you don't have to do that roll call as well.
Nice.
That's a feature. And we also stream audio. We just introduced that about a year ago. So you can listen from a situational awareness standpoint, not only just see the comments from the CAD, but you can listen to the audio streams from your agency, tactical command or dispatch traffic as well.
Is it something that, say, the backstepper had access to at least hearing it on their phone?
Yeah.
Or is it? Yes. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a big change, because that is awesome, because not everybody's going to be doing that, but that one aggressive firefighter that's going to go out into the bay and listen to that run is going to also be able to run in and say, "Hey guys, they're going to strike a second here in a little bit. Yep. We're going to go." Like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, we have case studies of that. For sure.
I started in the fire service working for a captain who basically, the MDT was like their book of information. They gave out the information when they thought it was needed, right? Even if I was going to a medical aid as a paramedic sitting backwards, hey, what are we going to? Oh, just don't worry about it. You'll figure it out when you get out there. The times have changed. Some of the most successful deployments that we have are departments that give, 1,500, firefighters basically TC mobile in their pocket. And so they get early notifications. And then when they're suited up, riding backwards, going to a structure fire, they're able to say, "Hey, Cap, this is a rescue." Maybe they see the comment before the captain does. It's really about situational awareness, information sharing, for everyone. So yes,
it's great. I am a very technologically loving person. Anything it's technology, I love it, except in the fire service. Yep. I'm the grumpy old man. For example, thermal imaging cameras have too many choices on them. And when there's choices on something, you tend to want to use them. And I think it holds you up at the fire scene. I'm not a big believer in that. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying what I believe. SCBAs have gotten out of control with the things they can do. What's the matter with just give me SARE, be my pass alarm. But now it tells me that, hey, by the way, you're a Capricorn, and the moon is waxing and waning and you lost 3 ounces of water.
Gluten-free.
Yeah, gluten-free. Yeah. I think that it's easy to overdo technology in the fire service. It's so easy. But this is one of those things that definitely is easy to use, easy to apply instantly. And well, I tell you what, before we go, I do want to ask another question. We were supposed to talk about lateral transfers, but we didn't. But let me ask you about the learning curve on this. What is the learning curve? Let's say you go to a fire department and the guy has no idea what a tablet. Okay, what's a tablet? How long till that guy can use tablet command correctly?
I could take the most cowboy tech hating battalion chief who has it all up here and have them loving tablet command in like 9 minutes and teach them how to use it in like 9 minutes in the simplest form, how to respond to a call, open up a call, and at least see what resources are coming. And if they want more, I can give them more on how to drop down a tactical worksheet and drag and drop. That could all happen in under 10 minutes. I mean, it is such an intuitive device that even someone that's not related to the fire service, you could give that to them, because there's enough games out there like Risk and Battleship and all sorts of different apps and, where there's some sort of tactical awareness. And because it looks so intuitive, it's obvious that each engine company, truck company, rescue, ambulance is a tile that it moves. So that is very obvious. And then it's like, well, I don't really want to spell out fire tactical. Well, you don't have to. We have these drop-down tactical worksheets. So I literally could take the most, tech averse, tech resistive person and teach them how to use it and have it be their friend in literally under 10 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Let me give you an example, Jake. We had a large metro. The battalion chiefs were using Tablet Command, both as an MDT and an incident command tool, and they wanted to roll it out to their transport and ambulance service so they could start statusing and replace their MDTs. So they put it on a couple of the ambulances, and they had this like 4 or 8 hour training program that they were going to be rolling out to all the EMS personnel. And they saw that the EMS personnel that had the tablets just in there, they didn't even provide them the training. They were already using it. So they basically ended up shortening their training, like a 1 hour training or something like that. Oh, wow. So it's fairly intuitive. Yeah.
It's funny because, you see that like your younger kids, when they finally get their first cell phone and they open it up, they know exactly how to use it, right? Because it's intuitive, right? And that's great. So we're getting ready to wrap up. I screwed up on the prank thing. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But I want everybody to know that they should go to, I believe it's tabletcommand.com, right? Learn about the product, see how it's going to fit and work for you. Also, they have a YouTube channel, right? That's where I got a ton of good information. And I hope you guys go there. Again, they are not a sponsor. They're not paying. None of this. This is just something that's going to help my brothers and sisters go home at the end of their shift. This is going to help little Johnny in his Spider-Man pajamas that's under that window have another birthday. That's what this is. This is in that category for me. So that's why I think it's very important. So please, guys, go look at it. I'm pretty sure if you use discount code 3.firefighter, you get 0% off. Am I right? Am I right on that?
Correct. That's correct.
Okay. So, I mean, a 0 is 1/3 of 100 if you think about it, and you're stupid like me. So I meant to ask Will at the end of part 1 last week about Firehouse Prank that he's played or had played on him. And then this time I was going to use Andy. But I'll let you all pick. You guys get to pick which one of you gets to tell me the best Firehouse prank that's ever been played on you, or you played on somebody.
I can do both in a very quick, but I will, if you've got a doozy, I'm for sure happy to share this segment.
You seem looking. He's. Are you thinking like, well, I can't say that on a podcast?
What's the statute of limitations on this?
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. So I was a firefighter at rescue station. We had a shift. We had a training officer that was like a shift training captain with us, and he was the prankster. He would always do pranks on us. As an engine company, he'd be pranking us as being his own unit or whatever. So the engine company came back from a medical aid one night, and we said, "Oh, let's turn the tones on and wake him up and pretend that we're going to a structure." And I said, "Actually, let's do one better. I'll fake a dispatch going to his pager. It'll go off first." And it looked exactly like an actual structure fire call. And so the pager went off first, then we turned the tones on, and then we jumped on the engine and we pulled the engine out. And he basically drove all the way down. We said that this bar down the street was burning, and he basically drove all the way down there at like 3 a.m. We didn't let him go code 3 or anything like that, but we got him back pretty good. So
3 a.m, that's a nice touch. And sometimes it's easier to do 7 at night, but 3 a.m, that's when we're not all there. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Mr.
I'd say sauteed white onions you let them cool down, and then you let the vanilla ice cream get slightly soft, and you mix those in so you can't see it for that crew that keeps eating your ice cream.
Right.
So you put that in your freezer, and then you let them have at it. So that's a good one. And then the other one that I may or may not have participated or been the recipient of is a brick of firecrackers in a metal trash can, lights out while someone's in the shower. That can be there's non-combustibles in a bathroom, except for maybe a towel or so and some tile. But so those were my givings and receivings.
The one along those lines, you remind me of one I saw, and I'd love to say I had a part of this and I didn't, but it was brilliant. They took another shift was just eating all of our margarine, or the shift's margarine, I should say. And so they got mad about it. So they took like a Snickers bar, kind of halfway melted it, put it in an empty tub, and then melted the butter, the margarine, poured it on top. And then they made it look like swirled it so it looked brand new. So nobody else ate from it except this one shift. And they got to the end, it looked like there was a turd in the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
It was awesome. I'd love to be that devious, but that was pretty good.
That's
Brothers,
solid.
I appreciate you all being on. Thanks for being on. Thanks for teaching me about this stuff. And I hope people really do look, because if we could put seconds on the clock, let's put seconds on the clock. Let's keep our firefighters going home. This is a round trip ticket. This isn't a one-way ticket when it comes to our job. So I truly believe that your product is helping us have more and more round trip tickets. So thank you very much. And I appreciate you being on.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks so much, Jake.
All right, brothers. Today's podcast was sponsored by Fire Facilities, designers and manufacturers of realistic, built-to-last training structures and mobile units for 35 years. Make training count. Visit firefacilities.com for more information.